4 years ago, I pretty much lost everything that I had. I was living in my parents' basement when I started Roof Tiger.
Last time I interviewed you, we were talking about Roof Tiger. Today I want to shift a little bit more on solar Panther.
Yep. I love the trades. They're never going away. I don't see a time in our lifetime where robots are going to replace us.
That's the American dream life. I don't look at the prices when I go to the store anymore.
Gotcha.
Me and my wife talks about it all the time.
It's people that should not be buying solar because they can't afford it. Their houses are not set up for solar because they don't have enough sun production. That's not something you want to sell to.
What's the most complex about installing solar?
There's this aggressive push by the state to shut down dirty energy.
Like, how much sun do we have compared to like Arizona, Florida, California? Do we have enough sun?
In Illinois, in Ameren territory, like central Illinois, energy rates have doubled in the past year.
Welcome back, everyone, to Business Hats Podcast. I have a very special guest. He owns a couple businesses now. We'll dive right in. Roof Tiger from Peoria, Illinois. Funny enough, the guy walks in right away, looks at my basketball hoop, is like, what's the name of the company?
Papa Shot.
Papa Shot. Those are made in Peoria, Illinois.
Yes, they are.
This guy knows every business in Peoria and what they make. And apparently the whole world is made there, not in China. But it's cool that it's not a China brand.
Yes. Yes,
Very
it is.
cool. Well, I want to start with, you guys don't see it, but Ben here drove all the way from Illinois with a fiance.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
So talk to me about your relationship, and she's helping you with the business, obviously.
I love it. Yeah.
Travel.
Monica, we met a little over about 2 years ago, and she's an amazing person. She was a nurse for the last couple of years, and she just retired from nursing to come help us with the business. So her official title is sales assurance manager, and it allows us to do this, which we're best friends. We love to spend time with each other. So
Absolutely.
great.
I cannot stress it enough how important it is to take care of your personal relationships,
Yes.
your parents, your wife, your relationship with, if you're not married, think about it, because the business will ruin you if you don't have right people in your corner. Last week, I've heard Patrick Bet-David talk about it, that being single is risky. Getting married is risky.
Yes.
Being single is riskier.
I saw that.
Open a business is risky. Not taking a risk to open a business is riskier. Do you agree with that?
Totally. I think to take it a step further, Dmitry, I'm sure we'll get into this, but the constant attention goes to how big is your company, how many millions can you make, and how big can you grow your bottom line. I think for me, the more important thing is who I work with, and do I wake up every day energized and ready to be with the people that I'm around. And I have an amazing staff. Many of them are my best friends. My mom, my dad, my fiance. It's incredible that I get to do this every day, regardless of the bottom line. I'm truly not money motivated. I want to squeeze the juice out of this life, and money will come with a successful business, as you know. Money follows a good business, but who you do it with is, I think, more important.
100%. I'm the only person I know who always goes on the air and keeps saying it. Like, I'm not money-driven person. I'm not money-driven. And most podcasts, especially business podcasts, they talk about money as a goals. When I sold my roofing business, people were telling me, why did you sell it? And that's the reason. I've never, ever, I wanted to have a steady paycheck on Friday to be with my family, to, take care of my kids. But I lived paycheck to paycheck for so long. I'm so used to it.
Same.
But it's cool. It's a good life. It's not bad.
Yes.
If you have being content is the gift in life. How did you become content with what you have?
A couple years ago, 4 years ago, I pretty much lost everything that I had. And I was living in my parents' basement when I started Roof Tiger. If you can imagine a dingy basement with no windows, that's what I lived for 2.5 years when I started the company. So I'm very used to that. And then I moved into a duplex, also owned by my parents. We are not overly wealthy people. And so I was so used to that when we started Roof Tiger and we started having success, it didn't change my lifestyle at all. Do I drive a nicer car? Sure. But I do not look at my bank account.
Love it.
I don't. The product of our business, that's what I'm chasing. I'm chasing an amazing customer experience. I'm sure you can relate to this.
Mm-hmm.
as entrepreneurs, I think we crave our product to be accepted by the public and celebrated by the public. Money follows that. And I
Mhm.
think when you reverse those things, that's when you get in trouble.
I agree 100%. How's your dad doing now?
Amazing.
Amazing.
64 years old. He's truly. I remember I watched a video about you and your dad, and your dad was, I think, driving for you, picking up
Hmm.
dumpsters
Hmm.
and stuff. To see your father step into his own entrepreneurial journey is really cool too, because he's an entrepreneur at heart, always has been. But to see him master the craft of running crews is really cool to watch.
Do you see your kids in the future taking over the business? Do you have an idea?
They're 8 and 6,
Okay.
possibly. We'll see.
Do you
Yeah,
talk about it?
it's funny you say that. I just brought it up this last week to my oldest, and starting in her head going in that direction.
My 7-year-old talks about investments now, and like, Dad, what's investment? When you buy something and it goes up in value, he's like, what can I buy that goes in value? And then next day he comes to me, he's like, how can I make $100,000?
Wow.
And then I asked my father-in-law yesterday, so we visited them and said, ask him how to make money. So my father-in-law, who's like in his 60s, comes to my 7-year-old. He's Max, how are you gonna make money? And he said, well, I'm probably gonna start a YouTube channel. Like, they figured it
It makes
out.
sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Watching you, I'm sure they watch videos of you and see you on YouTube. I'm sure that's
I don't
just
think it's just
commonplace.
me. Just that generation is
Yes.
so ahead of us.
Yes.
They know what works. They think, they talk about it. All you Mr. Beast and stuff. They see
Mhm.
the pattern, and I love it.
Yeah. I have an intern who's 21 years old, 20 years old, but I hired her when she was, I think, 19 or 20. And when I started giving her tasks in the beginning, I thought they would be far more complicated.
Hmm.
I would say, hey, can you do this, this, and this? She would finish it within a half hour. And I was shocked. But it's because she's internet native. She knows how to do these things far faster than I do. Even though I consider myself fairly tech savvy, she was just that much faster. And I think the next generation is going to be even more so. So that'll be fun to watch.
Now with the ChatGPT and all of that, do you use ChatGPT?
I wrote a couple contingency agreements with ChatGPT, and it works well.
Really well. Fun fact: one of my Nikita, my right hand with the conference and everything, last year was December. We were updating roofconference.com for roofing process conference, and he texted me, said, Dmitry, I need a blog why people would attend roofing process conference. I was blown away. It was one of my first experiences. Actually was showing it to my wife with ChatGPT. She's like, what's ChatGPT? She did not hear. It was like December of last year. And I said, watch this. And I showed her. Said, Nikita is asking me for a blog. So I opened ChatGPT and I typed in write me a blog why people should attend a roofing process conference. So it gave me 7 like full, dude, I was blown away. And
Detail.
like it types in front of you. It's like, number 1, network with other roofing professionals. Number 2, see latest products in innovation. Number 3, learn from and you're like, I couldn't write it better. It was insanity. And my wife is like, what? So I copied it. I emailed immediately to Nikita. He's like, oh, thank you. You're golden. Within like 10 minutes. And then I did not tell him it was ChatGPT on purpose. Then when we came to the conference, after the conference was sitting, everything was success. And I just mentioned, do you remember that blog? He's like, yeah, ChatGPT. He's like, no way. I'm like, yeah, you texted to me, and 10 minutes later, I'm giving it to you.
Right.
Like, I did not have time. I was spending, like, we're actually, me and my wife was watching a movie. And I'm like, for basic text, something like, I call it utility text. I wouldn't do YouTube videos or content creation over it. But, if you need something basic for your website or agreement,
Yes.
contingency agreement, perfect.
Normally, I would just contact a lawyer, right? And they charge me $300, $400 to write an agreement, probably in an hour. But this completely replaced it. We live in it's an interesting industry we're in, Dmitry. I'm sure you think about this, where we are in the trades, but we're business people in the trades. And so part of our job is going to evolve and transform. A lot of other industries like tech are going to change completely. But we have the trades as, I love the trades. They're never going away. I don't see a time in our lifetime where robots are going to replace us. And so we have this interesting in between of being a business person in the trade world. And I love it. I personally think that this industry, the roofing is one of the best industries to be in when you're a young professional.
Agreed. Last time I interviewed you, we were talking about Roof Tiger. Today, I want to
Mhm.
shift a little bit more on Solar Panther.
Yep.
Why are you wearing this shirt, not Solar Panther?
I don't have any Panther gear yet, man. As far as like it's like this.
You had it when we were in your
Yeah, no,
office.
I have a T-shirt with Solar Panther stuff, but this T-shirt I wanted to represent. This T-shirt's kind of like my truck and my vehicles, where they're really loud, and so this is how most people know me. Is the stripe life, but Solar Panther is taken off, and merch to come, I suppose. I need to get something with some blue and purple.
When did you start it?
2021.
What
Yeah.
was behind it, and what was the learning curve for you?
Interestingly enough, Dmitry, I was in the solar industry before roofing. I worked for a solar company back in 2018 for a short time, 6 months, 7 months, and saw the potential. But then the Illinois incentive stopped in 2020, and then it came back in 2021. So when it came back, I knew how big it was going to be, and now it's blossoming to even bigger.
How big are incentives in Illinois?
We average 60% of the system to be paid for through federal and state incentives.
Wow. Is
So-
it bigger than in other states?
Illinois is one of the best because they pay you upfront for the incentive. Some states, for instance, like if you get solar, you get a monthly check or a quarterly check based on a production.
Sure.
Illinois gives you 15 years of production value upfront.
Very cool.
So it's thousands of dollars upfront.
How competitive it is? How many companies are doing it?
In Central Illinois, not many. Most companies, if you're in solar and you understand the industry, there's kind of two segments to it. There's sales and there's install. The biggest problem with that is that salespeople, much like roofing, they don't understand the back end, the construction side. So when things go awry, you have just an outside shell organization taking care of you. Solar Panther, since we have roofers who understand construction, we converted them to solar installers. So
Yes.
we're
So you
both
have it all in house.
all in house.
Where do you buy your panels from? Like, how many? I know there's quite a few options.
Yes.
What?
I use, shout out to our supplier, Supplied Energy. It's about 2 hours away from us. It's local to Illinois, and they drop ship all the materials job by job, just like ABC would.
Got it.
Yep.
So you pretty much install panels, like big panels.
You got it. 400 watts usually is the average.
How many sizes are there?
Many. 360, 370, and 400 are your top 3 wattage sizes. You can go all the way up to 575 watts, which is a giant panel. It's probably 7, 8 feet tall.
What's the most complex about installing a solar? I mean, you have all your flashings with the roof,
Yep.
like brackets and stuff.
Yep.
Do you usually re-roof the house too? Or what's your ratio between full re-roofs and add-ons?
25% roof and solar, 75% just solar.
Hmm.
Yeah. A lot of the roofs in Peoria have been re-roofed over storms the past couple of years, so they're fairly new.
Okay.
And so from a roofing perspective, if you're a roofer and a lot of the houses are being re-roofed or already have been done in the past couple of years, where are you going to go? You got to travel. I don't want to do that. I don't want to chase storms. I don't want my staff to be living 3 hours away from their families. So let's build another business that we can supplement. And thankfully, we have this laundry list of customers who have a new roof already, so we can approach them again.
What's the average ticket of solar job?
38K.
38K?
Mhm.
And 60% is paid by
You
government?
got it. Yeah. So after it's all said and done, 15,000 out of pocket for, if you think about it like this, it's $15,000, but you're paying for energy for 25 years. So in Illinois, we do that cost comparison of, okay, you have 15,000 for solar panel production. And the other side, you have your utility costs were consistently going up. So in Illinois, in Ameren territory, like Central Illinois, energy rates have doubled in the past year. Have they done the same here in Minnesota?
I don't check.
Don't check.
I'm pretty sure. Don't check. I
Okay.
know they're going up, but I don't. That's the American dream life. I don't look at the prices when I go to store anymore.
Gotcha.
Me and my wife talks about it all the time. I mean, we used to do like where's cheaper and stuff.
Of
Now
course.
you need something, you just pay for it and be done with. Like, I'm not a smart consumer anymore. I care about, if my wife comes to me and say, well, we need 2 more kids to do sports, it's just like how much it is. Like,
I thought you were going to stop there and say, do we need 2 more kids? Just have 7 kids out there.
no, just like for me, like bills, because I can't control it. Maybe it's a stoicism mentality. It's like I don't focus on stuff I cannot control. Price goes up, I adjust, I make more money.
Mhm.
But I know it's going up. I know in Florida it's going up 65% by 2025.
You got it.
In Illinois, double, you say?
Double in the past. Well, not just in Illinois, it's Ameren territory, specific to where we're located, the utilities. You have to understand why this is happening. Do you understand why energy
No.
rates are going up?
I was going to ask.
The coal-burning power plants, Dmitry, they're shutting down.
Okay.
So they're reducing supply of the coal-burning power plants, and they're not backfilling the energy production needs of the state. So normally what you would do if you were shutting down, energy facilities is build them beforehand and then shut the old ones down. Illinois shut down the coal-burning power plants actively and not backfilling the supply. Make sense?
But it's good for them because they make more money.
They make more money. However, the state of Illinois wants to be net neutral by 2050. That's the goal, is to have no coal-burning power plants by 2050.
Well,
so there's this aggressive push by the state to shut down dirty energy and then basically putting it back on the residents to build solar panels to fulfill the need.
At least they're paying for it.
They are paying for it.
What about financing the rest? So if they pay 60%, how big is the financing?
So this is where it gets tricky. This is where salesmen need to be educated, and this is where I think our staff stands apart from a lot of other companies. I do not like dealer fees at all. I hate them. If you're not into solar, but you need to understand this when you sell it, to borrow a $38,000 loan for solar, a lot of times companies will charge 30% to actually finance the deal. This is where people get upset.
Yep.
So 30% of 38,000, let's call it.
And they're not even disclosing it.
Not disclosing it at all. So let's call it 10,000.
Is it legal?
I don't know.
Because like if I buy a car and my car is 20 grand,
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay 30 grand. Like, you can't hide financing in dealer fees and sales commissions.
Yep.
But in solar sales, they do it.
They do it.
Sales rep will get $8,000 and no one knows that $8,000 of that bill goes to sales rep.
Yeah, you betcha. So let's pretend that it's $10,000 is the cost to actually finance the deal. It's absurd. So instead of $38,000, they pay $48,000, but then they sell it as if, hey, now it's $48,000. The 30% federal tax credit is larger. You're getting more money back from the federal government. We don't like to do that. So we offer a higher interest loan. It's about 10% interest, a few points above a mortgage, spread over 25 years, but there's no dealer fee. What we encourage people to do is pay off these loans early. Do not pay interest for a long time as long as you can avoid it. But I actually disclose that to people. Hey, you're going to pay high interest. It's still less than your utility, but pay it off as fast as you can. Let me ask you this. How long are you looking to stay at your current house for?
A couple more years.
Okay. And you're moving into a bigger house?
Yeah.
Are you going to stay there for a long time if you do?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the customers we're selling to. Once you move to the new house and you're staying there for 25 years, if I can sell you a solar system for your energy needs for the next 25 years and you can escape the utility rat race, that's my target consumer.
How much do we have? So here we have Midwest snow. Like how much sun do we have compared to like Arizona, Florida, California? Do we have enough sun?
If we run proposals based on specific address, and we can show you exactly how much production your house gets, down to the kilowatt hour. We average the last 30 years of weather production to see that number, and so it's very accurate. But it's based on every house is different. This is where I see I think the pitfalls, Dmitry. I think this is a good side topic of the scam solar talk is very real, and this is the three things that people really, I think, the pitfalls they fall into. It's people that should not be buying solar because they can't afford it. Their houses are not set up for solar because they don't have enough sun production. That's not something you want to sell to. And the third thing is like bad credit. You're charging them way too much interest, high dealer fees. You're just selling a bad deal. And a lot of times salesmen are not trained to talk about that. They just want the commission.
Of course.
That's where the name comes from, right?
Of course. They're overpaying. And
Overpaying.
If you like, when does it make sense? Like
financially responsible people who understand the numbers and are staying in the same place for a long period of time. That's who we sell to.
But most people don't, what's average in the United States?
7 years. Yeah.
7 years?
Yeah.
I thought it was a little bit less than that.
I think it's, call it 5, sure. But the first question we ask out the gate is how long are you looking to stay in this house? If they say 2-3 years, we're like, this is probably not a good option for you. We're looking for somebody staying in there
But
10 years.
can't you pass it on to new people, like new owners?
The loan you would have to pay off before you move.
Oh, you have to?
Yeah. There's leasing and purchasing have two different loan options, and I do not like to say you can just transfer this loan. I'm not sure of the lawyers speak of all that, but we like to say you pay off the loan before you sell the house.
Oh, really? But I know some people do. And what about leasing option when people don't own?
We don't do
So-
leasing.
Why not?
Leasing's typically better for older people who have no taxable income, and for people that can't afford solar. Again, going back to that initial question of, is this person financially responsible enough to handle a big solar loan? It's not a small thing to take out a loan for $38,000. So we like to be very clear up front to say, hey, this is what it costs. This is how much you're going to get back from the state and federal government. Pay it off as soon as you can. Your ROI is 5.3 years. Your ROI is 7 years. Your ROI is 8 years. Being really upfront with that is important.
Got it. Talk to me about your business model. Why did you decide to do Solar Panther versus Roof Tiger?
Yeah.
So many people just add a service to their business.
Yep.
You decided to open new entity. Is it two different businesses?
It is.
Okay.
They're legally they're the same business, but Solar Panther from a brand perspective, if I just
So it's
added
DBA?
It is a DBA. If I just added solar to Roof Tiger, I've created a perception around Roof Tiger of roofing. I really want to keep it super clear and simple for people that when they see this Roof Tiger t-shirt, it's roofing. And when they see Solar Panther, it's solar, because solar is a brand new product. And I want people to know that that's what we do. So I market them separately to get more interest in solar panels.
Do you get a lot of leads that way?
Yeah.
How do you advertise? What's your secret sauce for advertising solar?
We don't pay very much in advertising, Dmitry. Barely any. This year, we haven't spent a dime on Google. It's all organic. And then we essentially approach the Roof Tiger customers with solar. For the first time this year, we started door knocking. It's going well. And then we're doing mailers. We just signed up with Dope Marketing to do mailers to our specific customers.
Love Dave, Dope. Shout out to Dope Marketing.
Shout out to Dave.
What's harder, roofing or solar business?
I think, oh man. I think once you get started with roofing, it has become easier. This is year 3 for us. We're momentum's continuing. We're growing year over year really well. Solar, to convince people that it's not a scam, is harder. Roofing, everybody knows you need, and insurance is involved sometimes, so it's easier. Solar, from the scam aspect and getting people to believe in the mission, is a lot more difficult. But let me ask you a question, Dmitry.
Sure.
I went to SolarCon in Salt Lake City. Shout out Jonah Cafferty and those guys who created that conference. The solar industry, have you ever been into a solar conference or met solar people? Far different from the roofing industry. I would say way more buttoned up, way more professional, way more business-oriented people who are into the next gen of business. Roofing, when you go to conferences, I think it's almost like we're stuck in a 1990s frame of mind.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
And I think the roofing industry is scared of new things. So that's why we hate to entertain new things in terms of introducing solar to the roofing market at large. And so when you're interviewing solar people, do you get the gist that, do you get the overall sense that the solar industry is just a massive scam?
So I've been at G2G. I know exactly what you're talking about. Like G2G, Tigers conference, there's a lot of solar guys there. So roofers, solars, all over, like landscapers. The roofing industry is a beast of the industry. We have few moving parts. If I would have to describe roofing industry to an outsider, we have monopoly side, which is your suppliers and asphalt shingle manufacturers. So pretty much one big mafia. It's a monopoly, right? So it's hard to negotiate price. So in a sense, it's an old school industry. Like if you ever deal with manufacturers, for example, they operate like roofers might be in 90s, but those manufacturers are in 80s. Like their methods of doing business are 80s. Like I'll give you an example. I interview a lot of suppliers, like like if you would open, if you want to open supply house, you can't. They're not gonna sell to you,
Mm,
and the reason they're not gonna sell to you because the leverage there, like they have all the leverage in a game, and that's what roofers are frustrated with. Like you negotiate price. Let's imagine you're buying 10, $15 million a year worth of
mhm.
product. You just negotiated price for per year
Right.
for this year, and 2 months later you get a price increase again. You're
Hmm.
like, heck, what is this? 7% price. You just negotiated. You're a big player. You're
Yes.
like number one. And the stuff that I hear, like for example, one of the supplier told me they wanted to bring one of the manufacturer told me they wanted to sell to this supplier,
Hmm.
and supplier called him and said, well, this bigger manufacturer told us if you sell that brand, we're pulling out, like they bring like 40 trucks per month.
Wow.
We're not gonna bring 40 trucks per month. We're pulling out. So it's pretty. It's a terroristic
Hmm.
ver- slash mafia approach. Like if you're gonna buy from him, forget about me. And that's happening a lot in the roofing industry,
Mm.
where you have it's like bottleneck. You have 3 suppliers at the top, you have 7 manufacturers here, and then you have all the roofers.
Mhm.
And essentially it's a commodity business. We all
Yes.
sell the same product.
Yep.
It's very competitive. Can you advance by using a little bit more technology? You can, and those who do, they do.
Mhm.
But overall, it's very, there's not enough incentives to use more technology. Where something like solar, you have to be the best, you have to be the most innovative,
Mhm.
or you're
Cheapest.
not gonna, yeah, exactly, you have to be impressive.
Yeah.
As a roofer, I mean, I'll give you an example. um I recently have a conversation with a guy. He's a founder of Geek Squad,
Hmm.
Best Buy.
Yeah.
Sold his company. He sells Geek Squad, moves to San Diego, California, and he calls me, said, Dmitry, in San Diego, when I call contractors, like concrete contractors, he was doing a lot of work on his property. He said, no one calls me back.
Sure.
No one provides digital estimates. And funny enough, in San Diego, we're talking about California, Silicon Valley, directory receives a lot of estimates to review.
Mhm.
That's the state where we get the most handwritten estimates.
Interesting.
Like I would get a homeowner sending me 4 estimates to help them pick a contractor, and all 4 of them would be handwritten. Like think about being California, the most technologically advanced state,
Mhm.
and the roofers are like 10, 20 years behind the roofers in the Midwest. Like here, I mean, everybody's using QuickBooks,
Sure.
your IQ-Links and stuff. Over
Sure.
there, they don't need to. And why is it happening? Because it it's regulated. Same with Florida. If it's regulated, if you don't have a big competition, if you know you're gonna get
Mhm.
the job all the way, like if I'm giving you price, on a piece of paper, and you're gonna go with me,
Mhm.
what's my incentive to start using IQ-Links? Like there's no incentives.
Sure.
Whereas solar guys have more incentives. You're gonna be left behind, and the whole thing started as a technology.
Yes.
You know.
In coming to your conference this last December, I felt I more align with the roofing industry in terms of like the good old boys trying to. I advocate for a lot of small companies and for I network with a lot of guys who are $5 million and below, $10 million and below. I love this size of business, and
Me too.
these people are really, I think, good natured people who want to make an impact for their families and friends. The solar industry, when I went to the conference in Salt Lake City, everybody felt like a frat party. It did. I walked in and I was like, man, I feel like I came from a small town to a big city. That's how it felt. And I felt like intimidated. I was like, man, these
Mhm.
guys are like talking about 50, 60, $100 million companies. And I'm like, my gosh, they see the opportunity and they're grabbing it by the horns. Now, what does that lead to? Scammy people.
Mhm.
That's the downside. However, there's a lot of companies that are running tight ships that are doing really well. And those are the companies who typically sell and install or have a really good relationship with their installer or are doing things the right way.
But how to find one? I mean, to me, when I hear solar big players, they
Mm,
all sound like Jordan Belfort.
Yeah,
Like,
they do. They do. You're right. I have no intention to be. I think this is what, going back to the first part of our conversation, I think it's really important as a business owner to know your vision. And right now I'm very content. We're headed for about $6 million. I feel really good
Yep.
with my life. I feel very content.
People don't get it. Like I was
Yeah.
doing like Storm Group, we were doing like 4 or 5 million, the best size ever.
Yeah.
You know, up to like, you know how to, you can go to 7, 8, but at what cost?
At what cost?
What do you have to trade in? What do you have to leave behind? I mean,
Yes.
I was working 5-10 hours a week. I was traveling. I started roofing insights.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed myself. I was doing what I love doing.
Yes.
People don't get the price of, I mean, you can work 80, 90 hours a week. You can take all liability and build $25 million business. But how many business owners you know who are miserable at that?
So
age?
true.
I mean, everybody going through divorces. I mean, don't have good relationship with the kids or parents.
Yeah.
Start getting into drugs.
It's
a problem.
You're right. I think that's the question we have to ask ourselves, is at what cost? And I think when I went through in 2019, it was by far the most stressful and demoralizing stage of my life, but it helped me understand what's really important to me. And I will never forget that. And now that I sit here and having what I have, I'm not yearning for more, just to have more, just to have for the sake of more. I think that's a foolish attitude. And I think we have to be very careful about what we're headed toward, or else we are constantly just keeping up with the Joneses. There will always be somebody bigger than you. There will always be somebody more something than you.
So you're not competitive?
I'm extremely competitive with my local market right now.
So if you're like, there's a little conflict there. If you're competitive, you want to be number one, but at the same time, you're happy with what you have.
Yes.
How do you explain that?
You can never be perfect, right? So constantly chasing perfection for your customer base. And for us, we have 210 Google reviews for Roof Tiger right now, 4.9 stars. We are seen as a beacon of high quality in our marketplace. I want to do the same thing for Solar Panther. I was thinking about it on the way up here, Dmitry, about my goals for both businesses. And that there will come a point where Solar Panther is the same thing. I'll just continue to do that. Maybe I'll open a third business, or maybe I'll, I don't know. I don't know what lies ahead, but I know that right now I'm very content in life, and I can wear this smile proudly. So
love it. Speaking of reviews, you have 30 reviews on Solar Panther.
Yes.
In one of the reviews, you answer, "Welcome to never have a utility bill." My question is it possible to eliminate it? Because the review actually states the lower electric bill is a bonus. So the homeowner says the lower electric bill is a bonus, but you, in answer to that review, says, "Welcome to never have a utility bill." I'm like, that's not
why are you
what
gonna say
they
it like that, Dmitry? Well, you gotta do that.
But no, the question is it possible to eliminate the bill?
For Ameren territory, so that's a utility specific question. In Ameren territory, I can eliminate the distribution and the production charges, but the customer charge will never go away. It's about $12 a month.
Really?
Yes. Now, there's a meter on the side of your house. It's a flat charge that will never go away, no matter how much you produce. So I suppose the lower utility bill. Oftentimes, too, in different utilities, gas and electric are two separate companies.
Mm-hmm.
In Illinois, in Ameren produces both electric and gas. So when somebody has a $150 gas bill, sometimes they don't put 2 and 2 together that that's the gas bill.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they think it's lower. No, I've eliminated the electric bill except for the customer charge, but the gas bill still has to be paid for.
So how much what's the average bill now?
180.
180?
Yep, in Central Illinois.
And what's the average production for a solar system?
Depends on the house. All right, if your house is covered with trees or you don't have good slopes, you really can't produce anything.
Okay.
So it's very specific to the house. This is what I'll say. Our average return on investment is 7 years. 7 years. So if you say to me, Dmitry, I'm staying in this house for 25 years, I can assure you that after 7 years, your system will be pretty much paid for. And then every year after that, you will be in surplus. So we're chasing people that are staying in the same place. They have little kids. They're looking to build a place in the neighborhood. That's the customer we're targeting. Wow. I am not targeting somebody who's coming to me saying, "Hey, Ben, I'm moving in 2 years. Can you make an ROI?" I pretty much don't sell to those people.
Who do you use for financing?
Mosaic is the brand we use right now. We're very happy with them. They've been good to us. They used our Roof Tiger credentials to get us started for Solar Panther. which was good. So they've been very helpful.
Love it. No dealer fees?
I do have a couple plans that carry a 6% dealer fee, which I think is fairly low. That's just like most consumer finance you can find for roofing jobs. The new payment we're selling now is 18 months, no interest, no payments, and then 10% after that.
Can you give advice to the homeowner who is looking to hire solar contractor? You know how scammy it is.
Yes.
Give advice how to find and filter bad from good.
Ask for references. Get 3 bids. Typically, I wouldn't say that in the roofing industry because we're relatively all priced the same. There's a few outliers, but the solar industry, Dmitry, we're generally coming in far below the market value. Like when I see a competitive bid, I sometimes have $8,000 to $10,000 less for the same product. What's quiz question? Why do you think I'm $8,000 to $10,000 less?
Dealer fees, probably financing.
There you go. They're not disclosing the dealer fee attached to the program. So I'm offering a 10% interest rate program. They're offering a 4% interest rate program, but they're charging $10,000 to $12,000 for buying that financing program.
I see.
So it comes down to this is not a, hey, this is your shingles, I'm going to put this on for you. This is a financial discussion of return on investment. So your customers have to be educated, and that conversation has to be crystal clear. And that's what's not happening most of the time in solar.
So because they sell this promise that your bill will be cheaper, which it will be. But if you spend 80 grand, it's like you pay me 80 grand to reduce your bill 20 years from now.
Correct.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. I want you to think with me, very basic math, okay? Let's hypothetically say you spend $2,000 a year on electric, okay? Over a 25-year term, how much are you going to spend?
2,000, you said?
2,000
a year, 25, yeah. 50K?
50K. So let's just keep that number in mind. $50,000 for your electric portion.
Sure.
If I can sell you a solar system for 38K, let's just take away the incentives for a second. 50,000 versus 38,000. I'm already saving you 12,000. Okay. If you paid with cash. Do you think electric rates are going to go up in the future? Yes or no?
Of course.
Of course. So that 50,000 is really, what do you think?
Probably more.
Probably more. Let's call it 75,000. Okay. Over a 25-year period. So I'm not even going to factor in the 75,000. Let's just pretend it's, again, 50,000 versus 38. The federal government's paying 30% of that in a federal tax credit. It's about 13K. Okay. Or let's call it 11,000. Now we're down to 27. The state of Illinois is also paying another $10,000, $12,000 for the state incentive.
Wow.
Right? So it's 50,000 versus, let's say, 17K. Am I making sense?
Yep.
If you pay off the 17K within a couple of years and not pay a bunch of interest fees, you're saving some serious cash.
So 7 years.
There you go. Now, if your average bill is $2,000 and you paid for solar up front, 2,000 until, let's say, 15 is 7.5. That's the math of solar. If you stay on the current trajectory with your utility bill for that $50,000, it will go up. With solar, it will remain flat or go down.
Got it.
Make sense?
Numbers don't lie.
Simple as that.
But, I mean, in all fairness, if you add dealer fees, if you add like 8K, you're just going to pay a little bit longer. It still probably makes sense. It's just longer time. Now, not 7 years, maybe 15 years.
If you pay interest on $17,000, 10% interest on $17,000, it's going to go higher, 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 right?
Yeah.
So that's where you get into trouble, is paying interest over time.
Got it. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. Comment below what you guys think about solar. Are you skeptical?
Come after me. Let's go. Let's get in a fight in the comments.
I want to hear your opinion. Do you see more scams or more good guys in the solar industry? Comment away. I'll see you guys in the next video.